Hello, this is Molly Murphy, creative nonfiction writer and educator. Welcome to Writing Through the Changes. I've got a lot of really wonderful things that I'm super excited to share with you for this course. But I wanted to start by explaining some of the philosophies and goals and components behind the course, how I designed it, as well as some explanations about how to get started before you receive your first seasonal portfolio packet. So the first foundational philosophy that this course oscillates around are the interactions between our internal space and our external space. So how our emotions and our thoughts are being pulled out, in a sense, by whatever's going on in the external season, be it winter, or spring, or summer, or fall. And throughout the course, we'll be really working on how to synchronize those two so that they're in better flow with each other. So here, throughout all the exercises and activities that I've got planned for you, you'll find a variety of tools and techniques. There's mindfulness exercises, contemplative activities like meditation, immersions in nature, a lot of slowing down, getting out of the rat race of the modern world, a lot of sensory awareness, pulling in all of our senses, not just our sight, which we tend to be really dominant in, but also our smell and touch and taste, our hearing. There's a lot of body awareness, just awareness in general around our surroundings and around how those surroundings are influencing our internal environment. And then we're going to work a lot with breath, so intentional breathing and finding balance through it all. How do we balance these pieces of the fast-paced modern world and sometimes our inner self that really wants to slow down and take it a little bit more easy and with a little bit more peace and calm? So that slowing down component is one of the chief foundational goals of the course. And I want to use the solstices and equinoxes to create a marker, a sense of pause and a place of stillness at each change of season. We're going to bring in these contemplative practices as a regular part of our lives, working to establish them as a habit and a routine that involves writing and free writing and journaling and meditations, art and creativity. So those are kind of the things that we can do inside, but we can also do outside. There's also a component of moving slowly when we're outdoors. So often when we're outside, we are working towards a goal and trying to get somewhere, get to the peak, the end of the trail, finish the loop, whatever it is we're doing. And so our outdoor time here is going to be spent really slowly, still, even stopped. So it brings us to our second major pillar of the course, which is connecting to nature. And so we're going to be working with finding the energy of a particular season and figuring out how we can jump into the flow of that season rather than fight against it. The winter season is a perfect example. It's a season that wants us to hibernate and go inside. And instead, we're running around in the busyness of the holidays. And it's often counterproductive because we're not moving in the flow of what's happening in nature. So I want to tap into nature as that sense and source of nourishing space, peace and calm and grounding. I also believe that there is an inherent metaphor in nature. Metaphor is a literary tool that we'll use in some of our creative free writes. And in that practice, we're looking for symbolism and meaning from potentially seemingly disparate objects. I believe that there are lessons to be learned in paying attention to nature if we give it this time and focus. So another piece of our practice is that we're going to become intimately familiar with the creatures and the plants and the components of your home space as if they were neighbors, because they are. Learning their names, learning their behaviors, where they live, when they bloom, how they seed, what they need in the soil and the water, what kind of food they need. All these things are about learning about the creatures that surround us. And from that place, a lot of beauty and metaphor can arise that can inform not only our creative writing, but can also inform just how we're interacting with our emotions and how we're interpreting those. So nature helps us get it's perspective. There's larger systems at play. You just look at geologic time and realize that there are things that are much larger in this universe than our tiny little human lives. So that perspective, I think, is a really calming thing to focus on at times. Another piece of syncing up, of noticing the winter solstice, summer solstice, spring and fall equinoxes, is that it helps us create celebration and ritual around what is happening in nature, recognizing the themes and moods of these different seasons and creating some celebration around it. It's an astonishing thing that we live in the middle of, and it is often tossed by the wayside as we move through all of our technological bits and our busy schedules and all of these things. So the other pillar of the course is connecting to self. And as I talked about with nature and with the seasons already, we're working to claim the energy of this moment. Many of us have much more solitary time than we ever have before. And so it's really capitalizing on this instead of resisting it and honing in on our internal processing skills so that we can use them to our advantage and take advantage of this time that we've been given. Writing is a tremendous processing tool, and so I hope that in establishing a writing practice, we are giving you an additional tool to put in your toolbox to interact with things that might be difficult or things that nourish you and make you happy, and how to pull more of those things into your life. So a lot of the writing is, or a lot of the connection to self is going to be done through writing, identifying your own values, what's nourishing to you, what feeds you, and how to bring more of this to your life. It's also identifying what doesn't serve you. We're working with the dark and the light, the night and the day, the winter and the summer. And so what doesn't work for you any longer? What do you need to transform and create into something that's perhaps more fulfilling, or use that difficult juncture as a learning point to move forward into a better space? We'll work a lot in our writing with identifying your goals and moving forward on your individual path, keeping yourself on track just by setting up this writing practice. And so I hope that the writing is a place of empowerment for you to work through your own process to figure out what you need at any given point in time. I hope that we're able to establish some positive practices and habits in these writing exercises that revolve around the contemplative and the more connected. So another pillar that we're going to be working on is connecting to our creativity, using writing as a creative outlet for our emotions and where we are in our lives and what is rising up in our personal and global worlds. And so this is more in the free writing vein, more in the creative writing vein. We'll be working with senses, we'll be working with metaphor, we'll be working with cycles, and just writing about those, not in a way that we have an end product, but in a way that helps us connect to place and connects to self. I believe this kind of creativity helps us tap into different parts of our brain that can help give us perspective on things that might be new and refreshing to us. And then one of the other pillars that I'm going to be working with you is this disconnect from technology. We spend so much time on computers and phones and television. There's screens in front of our eyes all the time. And it is disruptive to the way our brain works. It's disruptive to our short-term and long-term memory and processing skills. It's very jarring to be on all the time, to always have a need to be responding to someone. So this is an opportunity to take a break of being constantly plugged in and constantly obligated. So once you download your materials for each season, you don't need to be plugged in anymore to the internet or Wi-Fi or have any other technological demands on your time to participate in this course. So those are philosophies. We're going to move on now to the structure and how it's all going to be pieced together.